Yes. So do you have any questions? Yeah, please let me.
Yes, sir. In the previous class, we had the plot that you had showed with the likelihood, posterior distribution, and the x and y axis itself. I did not understand that one. Could you explain the likelihood column of it?
Okay, you are saying like in that exercise what was there? Huh? Okay, we'll see. So I will when I come to that slide, you let me know. Uh,
Okay, sir.
which one is that column?
The first one, sir, figure 3.7 likelihood.
This one. Can you see that now?
Yes, I can see, sir.
This column you are saying, right? How it comes?
I'm not, I can't see that one, yes.
Can you see this? What I'm running a marker on the slide.
Mm, I can see the drawn outline,
Which slide you are seeing now?
sir.
Linear
Which slide?
regression. Based.
Bayesian linear regression.
So it is 3.7 figure, right? You can see that 3.7 figure.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So you have any question on this in this figure?
Yes, sir. On this figure, on this column, which you've marked.
What is that? You want to know?
I don't get how we are getting these lines also.
Okay, so you see the previous lecture. I have discussed in very detail that thing, right? So it is not possible to discuss everything. You just see that because recording is available. You see that, and
Is there any different way of for putting it for like that might doesn't need to be completely accurate, just for a concept like
yeah, first you see that lecture carefully, right? So I have discussed everything there that is required. So I think it is not wise to redo the same exercise again on and when recording is available, right? So please see that,
okay, sir.
right? So we have discussed it and we have found out like how to come up. Anybody in the class is who has drawn this column based using Python? Is there anybody who tried to like draw this column? Maybe color may not appear, but the structure may appear, right? So it should come like this. So these will be the horizontal black lines that can come, and all this will be white. So has anybody tried to draw this figure? No, you have not tried, or you have not found out like how to do that.
Sir, I tried, sir, but I was not able to.
What? It was very simple, right? So what is the formula for likelihood? The formula, you just take the life formula first, right? So that was then you put like how many points are there? So there is only one point. So in that formula, in that formula of likelihood, what are the variables? Can you tell me?
W naught W1.
Right. So W naught W1. So you have a formula where you want to put W naught W1, right? So you just formulate a grid for W naught W1, right? So you just I told you how to formulate a group in Python. So you just see like just to construct a grid. So that grid will give you some pair values of W naught W1, right? So these pair values you will get. Once you get these pair values, it means there are different combinations of these values. You take this pair of value and feed it into a formula, right? This was a formula which will calculate the likelihood. Likelihood is nothing but the probability for this point, right? For this point. Then you just, whatever the probability, you just store it. Then you calculate the probability for second point, right? This is a second point probability. Likewise, you calculate the probability for every point. So if there are a 10 by 10 grid, so you have 10 by 10 probabilities, right? Then you draw a heat map. So there are two matrices with you. One is a grid matrix, and corresponding to a grid matrix, there is a likelihood matrix, which say that it is also 10 by 10 grid, and it will have a corresponding probability here, then corresponding probability here. So it is also kind of a 10 by 10 matrix, and for each pair of value it is having a probability. Then you feed these three matrices to that heat map plot, and it will construct it.
So for a single pair of W0 and W1,
Uh-huh.
this matrix, like, should we consider like it is a line and there will be like points, right? So you said we have to draw 10 points.
Right. So first
So
you have to construct a data set like the same way we had done for first class. So in that construction of data, take a line which I have told you with same intercept slope, right? This is a line with same intercept and slope. Then you just draw some 10 samples from it. So this there are uniform, take 10x from 0 to 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. And for every x, you just calculate what is a y. So these are the y's. And then you add some random noise to it, right? That random noise I have also defined. So you will get some pairs like this around the line. So this is the of x, y in your data. Now you take one by one. You just take this pair first and calculate the likelihood for every x and y, right? For every x, for every W0, W1. You take second pair, then you get let's say W0. This one. I think I have not read that section. You should read that. Anything else?
so like if we have a particular point and a particular line, like that particular line can be used to fill the particular part of the matrix, right? Like one section of the matrix, W0, W1, the likelihood grid, which we are seeing. So, like,
No,
can
no.
we consider a Gaussian function like around that line? And if we have to find the value of that likelihood,
Come on. Just hold. Just hold on.
okay,
When you have a W0, W1 grid, right? So this is a W0, W1 grid. So this grid means you have these many lines that you are going to take. Does this make sense to you? Every point is a line here, right? With intercept and slope. On
yes,
this is W0, this is W1. So every point is a line. So you take this line and find it out. What is the probability? And let's say this was your data set. You are taking one point. So if you draw this line, this was a line. So you calculate what is the probability of generating this point from this line. So because this is a line, this is this much far away from it, you get some P1 probability by that formula, right? You take second line. Yeah.
so my doubt is like we'll get a probability for that particular point. So for getting that probability, we are using the Gaussian function, right? Over there, above the line. We should
Yes,
treat it like that.
you have done likelihood function. You have done a likelihood function. Don't you see that likelihood function which we have discussed in first 3 classes? So
Yes,
likelihood
yes.
likelihood function is this: the probability for given variables are W, and it is nothing. It is proportional to e to the power minus half function yxw. Yxw is here nothing but W transpose x, right? It is W transpose x, and oops, just a minute. So it is W transpose x minus what? Minus what?
So the mean over here will be the value of the line at that particular point. Like,
Come on, you need to see all those lectures. I can't repeat it, right? This is very, I can't repeat it. This is everything I've said in it. So this is a line here, then how much far? So can anybody tell me what is this, what should I put in a formula now? So this was y, x comma w, right? So I am taking a likelihood function where that my variables are w, and what is the constant? So e to the power minus half W transpose x, which is nothing but a mean of a line, minus anybody?
T. Yeah.
T.
T, right? It is T. It is T. Very good. So it is this value, how far it is from the line. So this is W transpose x, right? It means for this x, For this x, this is W transpose x. So this was your mean. How far you are from mean is like your error. So you put your t here for that particular point, right? So this is that formula for likelihood. Now you change. Can anybody tell me now if this is a formula, how to fill this, how to find out a respective probability for that grid? So there, how many points are there on this grid? Let's say it's a 10 by 10 grid. How many points are there on this grid?
100.
100. And each point is what?
A line.
If each point is a line, then I can calculate a probability with what formula? For that,
The likelihood.
for this particular line, this is the probable formula, right? So I keep on changing my lines and I will get new probabilities for every line, right? So this is the same formula. I just need to change. I need to put W one by one here in this formula. This is this W, right? From the grid. So W is a vector here. So W transpose X means W0, W1, W0, W1, and X. What is X? You just have to append 1 over in front of it. If you remember, I told you just you need a constant 1 every time. You append 1, and this is your this X. You feed this X here directly, right? So this is this X. So W transpose X will give you what? This point. And when you just subtracted T from here, so for this W, and you keep on changing your W from the grid, right? You will get different probabilities, P1, P2, P3, P4. Any question? I think you need to do it. You have not done it. You just read the exercise and just assumed yourself this is hard and we cannot do it, right? This is what you have done. Have you sit with the computer and tried with like all those things? No. So now it is clear how to find out a probability on this grid. Come on, yes or no? Okay. Fine. So if anyone of has done that, you just plot that heat map and share it with your class. You share the code with the class, right? So that everybody can get a feel of it. And send a mail directly specific to me. Once I validate that mail, then you share that code to that class, right? So any one of you can do it. So let's say Sufyan Ahmad, if you understood it, you can do it, or Vedant, as you said. Anybody, Akash, Vedant, or Sufyan. Any of you, if you draw a heat map for a particular line, let's say you take a point. How to take a point? Is there any difficulty in taking a point? Can you construct a data set, Akash?
Yes, sir.
So I have given you intercept and a slope, and then noise also I have given to you. You just found out 10 data set, 10 points in a data set, and take 1 point randomly. And for that particular 1 point, you draw the likelihood map, right?
Yes,
This
sir.
and then share it, right?
Yes.
So you just rewatch all those lectures. I told you when I teach you, it will be very smooth and smooth, and you will be digesting everything at that moment. But if you don't work hard on it, right? This is not simple ethical classes. So if you don't work hard on these classes, then at last everything will wind up, and you will not understand anything. So work hard. You need to read 4 to 5 hours other than my classes each week. So I hope today you will revise everything. Okay, let's start with this then. So any question here till I go to the next class, next slide. If you have any question, I can happy to clarify you. But question should be crisp. You should not say like you explain everything. Yes. Any doubt? Yes, no. Okay. Okay. So now let's, this is the likelihood function. If you remember, we have taken, this is the likelihood function for whole data set, right? The likelihood function I have written on the previous slide, I have assumed in my data set there was only 1 point. But if there are like there are 10 points, so this t vector is having t1, t2, t10, right? This is also I have derived in my previous classes. So from t1 to t10, this is the vector, and this phi is a design matrix. This phi is nothing but it's your basis function for first point, second point, and 10th point. And then you multiply your w. W is nothing but line, intercept and slope, w0 and w1, right? So intercept and slope. You multiply first point with this is x transpose w for first point, x transpose w with second point, and you will get all those means on a line, and you subtract it how far they are from, and then you are squaring it, right, by doing this operation. So it is nothing but you are multiplying that probability for every point, and this is that likelihood probability which we have already derived. Then I said that you just assume that there is a prior probability on your lines. So prior probability, we have said that you just assume there is a bivariate Gaussian where the density is like this, right? So it's a bivariate Gaussian and the mean is 0 and covariance matrix is identity matrix, and how scattered it is from, it is decided by alpha, where alpha is a precision matrix, right? So alpha is a precision parameter, hyperparameter. So if I say alpha is 100, then it is more concentrated towards the center. If alpha is 10, it means because it is alpha is inversely proportional to variance. So precision means how close it scatteredness can be. So if alpha is very large, it means it is very congested in a very small place. If alpha is very small, it means precision is very small. It means variance is very high. So it will scatter too much. So as I said, this is this is inversely proportional to the variance. What I guarantees that the scatteredness is in the circle. If this is not identity matrix, then it could be ellipsoid, right? So then the question can be ellipsoid. So here we have assumed that my covariance matrix is nothing but this alpha I form, right? Then how to derive it? So I said that posterior probability, this is what we have done so many times. My posterior probability is PW and this is DW. We multiplied it and we found out that after doing this is my, as I said, this is my prior probability distribution over W. And this is my likelihood distribution. We are multiplying it because both are in exponent. We are adding the pairs. When we are adding a pair, we are just applying a distributed formula of linear algebra, and then somehow we solved it. So here is the catch, right? So then this is what we got after solving it. So we have written in a very specific form, and why we have written in it a very specific form, let's see it. So first you see this general formulation of a Gaussian formula, a Gaussian distribution. So Gaussian distribution can be written as this. This is your mean. This is your precision matrix, right? And this is this value for which you want to calculate a probability, right? So W is this. This is the formula for Gaussian. If you expand it, this is what you got, right? This is what you got. In this, you see that you have one quadratic term where there are two W's in W transpose lambda W. It means in between you have sandwiched what? It's a precision matrix, and both sides you have W. So it is a quadratic form of a W where the second term in quadratic is precision is sandwiched between these two things. then it is a linear term in terms of W, and the rest two are multiplication of covariance matrix and, or I would say precision matrix and your mean, right? And the rest of the things are, I think this is typo. This is type. Oh, sorry, no, fine. So this is when you just solve it, you add it, it is -2, -2. So these two terms are similar. You add them and you found out this third term. So -2. And this constant mu transpose lambda mu will come as it is, right? So you see here, what is the objective of this thing here is, if oops, so you see here, like when you started with this formulation, you get this simplified formulation, right? It means any Gaussian distribution can be represented by the quadratic form of your parameter. So parameter, what here was, it was W. So the W is in a quadratic form where your covariance matrix or precision matrix is sandwiched. Then W is within a linear for production, where there are other two terms, which is lambda and mu. And the third is constant, which is nothing, mu transpose lambda mu, right? So if you can, now what we have done in a previous slide, we multiplied our likelihood function with our prior function, right? And then when I multiplied with likelihood prior, we have intentionally we first collect all those quadratic terms, then we collected all those linear terms and all those constant terms, right? Why I'm saying this is constant? Because we are trying to find out the posterior distribution over W. With respect to W, your data set is constant, right? So this is a constant term and this is a quadratic term. If you match this quadratic term with this quadratic term, you find out that sandwich one is nothing, but it is a precision matrix. So this is a precision matrix of a posterior distribution of a W. And this is nothing, but it's a product of what? It's a product of a mu and precision matrix, right? So if you, so this is a precision matrix, directly you have written here because it is sandwiched one. And if you just see it separately, so you just avoid W transpose. So you get what? Beta phi transpose T, right? So beta phi transpose T, which is nothing, but it is a product of your precision matrix and mu. You want to calculate your mu, so you can multiply this with the inverse of a precision matrix. If you multiply inverse of a precision matrix, this will cancel this lambda and you will get your mu only. So here I got this term. If I multiply this term with my precision matrix, inverse of precision matrix, I get only mu. What is my precision matrix? This is my precision matrix, beta phi transpose phi plus lambda I. So if I take this matrix and take an inverse and multiply with this, I get what? Mu. So this is what we have done. So this is a mu lambda matrix. We have multiplied with the inverse, and when we multiply with the inverse, we get a mu. So what I am trying to explain on this slide, anybody can unmute and just let me know what I am deriving here.
The first line of the formula is what we're trying
Sorry?
to derive.
What is yeah.
We know that the normal distribution given mu and lambda inverse is proportional to the power whatever thing. So we get some form here.
That's right. This lambda and mu is for what distribution? What distribution I am trying to derive?
A Gaussian distribution.
What Gaussian distribution?
Normal Gaussian, I'm not sure.
Anybody else? What Gaussian I'm driving here? Or distribution, not specifically Gaussian. What distribution I am deriving on the slide?
Posterior.
Posterior, very good. Posterior of what?
W.
W, right? So there were two constructs. First was likelihood and then was the map estimation, maximum a posterior estimation. How we were deriving map estimation, it was a product of a prior and a likelihood divided by the probability of a data, that is known as evidence. So right now we are not considering probability of a data because it is constant for a data set. So we are ignoring it. So we are just checking a numerator. So in numerator, we are multiplying prior with the likelihood. Once I multiply prior with the likelihood, it is nothing but it's a directly proportional to the posterior distribution. So posterior distribution of a parameters. So now what I got it, I found out my posterior distribution is also Gaussian distribution, right? So if you remember, I started with a prior distribution. In prior distribution, I had some Gaussian. Then I multiplied it with likelihood. I get a new distribution, which is nothing but again a Gaussian distribution. And this Gaussian distribution, if it is a Gaussian, then I should have a mean and a variance, right? Covariance. So this mean and covariance, I have derived it. And I've said that my posterior distribution is again a Gaussian distribution with this mean and covariance, right? Covariance I have written in terms of a precision matrix. Any question? Quickly, any question? You understood this? So we are deriving.
Sir, the phi transpose and phi are the same basis matrices, right?
Right.
Okay.
Phi is the same design matrix that we have discussed there.
Lambda is the covariance of the posterior Gaussian distribution.
Right. Lambda is a posterior covariance precision, not covariance. It's a precision matrix of, if you take an inverse of it, then it is nothing but it is a covariance matrix. If you take an inverse of it, right? Anybody else have any question? So the point that you should take from the slide is that we are driving a posterior distribution of our parameters, and posterior distribution is again a Gaussian distribution with certain mean and covariance matrix, which we have just derived it, right? Then I see separately, this is my covariance matrix. When I multiply my covariance matrix, inverse of a covariance matrix with the linear terms, this is nothing but a mean, right? So if I simplify my mean, I can write it this way, right? So this is a covariance matrix which I have plugged in now here, right? Once I simplify it, I get it phi transpose phi lambda by beta I inverse phi transpose t, right? And if you have just done your exercises and you have come with me by understanding all the previous lectures, you remember that we have derived our regularization expression such that the expression was like this. Anybody remember this? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, very good. So this was a regularization expression. In this, we had a lambda, which we were instructing what should be the flexibility I should give on my parametric space, right? This is that lambda. Now, if I apply my Bayesian learning here, I found out this form is very similar to this form, and my lambda in that regularization is nothing but it's a ratio of my prior distribution covariance precision. This is the precision parameter of my prior distribution, and this beta is nothing but it is a this is a noise on the line, right? On the line. So this was defined by beta. It's again a precision parameter. So lambda, here you can see, if somebody asks you how you should take a lambda, it is nothing but it's a ratio of two parameters, alpha by beta, right? Beta, though you may have to model a noise, like what should be your inherent noise in your data set and what is the prior that you should take. So based on your prior that you have taken, you take the precision parameter from there, and if you divide it alpha by beta, you will get that lambda, right? So we have connected, and we have mentioned, we are trying to mention on the slide is this regularization. To bring regularization into picture, you can always define a prior and then do some just estimate your parameters. If you estimate a parameter after applying a prior, it is nothing but it's a regularization, right? So in Bayesian, you don't need to specifically bring lambda into a picture, but you define a prior over that, and once you simplify it, it is nothing but it's a regularized version, right? Yes, so lambda is question is, so lambda is obtained by taking ratio of precision of prior and precision of a data set. Not data set, it's a precision of a noise on the data set, right? Precision on of the noise, right? You just see that construct. It was a mean, and I'm adding was some noise to it. That noise was deriving from Gaussian distribution, and that precision was beta there, right? Any question? Any other question here? Yes or no? Okay, fine. Right. So now, now I am here, right? So I want to go to this slide. I want to go to this slide here, and just want to discuss what we have done so far, right? So this is what on slides I'm showing you now is what on slides I'm showing you here is this was a prior which was defined by my alpha. I started with my likelihood. I did something. I found out the posterior distribution. The posterior distribution is again a Gaussian with some mean, and this was my covariance matrix lambda, right? So for now, if this is my prior and this is my likelihood, I am trying to derive a normalized version. So this is a Gaussian distribution, but because I have taken only the product of a prior and a likelihood, so I have not divided it with the evidence. So it is not a normalized, but the shape will be same, right? It is just a scaled version as you are dividing it something by constant. For next point, you take this as a prior. So now for the prior, you have some lambda as a precision matrix, right? And mean is defined by this prior, right? This is your mean, which is a mean of a posterior. Now it acts as a mean of a prior. You take this as a likelihood function, you multiply it, and you get a new posterior. This is your new posterior, and it is your new lambda, right? It is your new lambda and new mean. So this new mean is this. When you get a third point, so you take this as a posterior, this as a prior, this as a likelihood function, multiply it, and you get a new posterior, right? This is what you get. Again, lambda and a mean, right? So every time you are multiplying with some likelihood function, you are updating your lambda and mu. So in for loop, you can just plug the equation. So this is a for loop. You can plug an equation. This is your posterior mean and prior mean formulation. Every time you bring into a likelihood function, you multiply and it will be a new prior. And you redo this exercise and keep on looping it. And you for every iteration, you will update this lambda and mu, right? So is this clear to you guys?
Yes, sir.
Right. Okay. So now the question comes here is what you're going to ultimately you have found out a posterior distribution after seeing a data set, right? This is a posterior distribution after seeing a data set. What you will do with it posterior distribution? Anybody? What you will do with this posterior distribution?
Use it to predict.
So there are two things. That posterior distribution is what? It is giving you what is the probability, maximum probability of your parameters after seeing your data and prior, right? So can anybody tell me what is the maximum probability parameter after seeing a prior and a data set as per my posterior distribution? So I need to pick one line, right? From my posterior distribution. What is that line which is having a maximum probability in my posterior distribution?
The one with the most red value on it, based on the heat map.
What you can say about a Gaussian distribution? What is that red value there?
It is the peak of that Gaussian distribution.
Where is the peak of the Gaussian distribution?
So mean,
At the mean.
Please, very good. It is very basic. You have done 4 vector courses in your probability. So it is a mean. It is a mean of a Gaussian distribution. So you don't take a time to pick a line from a posterior distribution if somebody is asking one line, right? If somebody is asking what is that maximum probabilistic line you can derive from a posterior distribution, it is nothing but a mean, because here the mean and a mode is same. Mode means which is having the highest probability, and mean is having a highest probability. So you can directly pick a mean from the Gaussian distribution. It is a very unique nature of a Gaussian distribution that mean and mode are same. But if it is not the case, then that is a different case. So now you have picked one line, and this is known as maximum a posteriori estimation. It means you have taken a maximum probabilistic line from the posterior. This is known as MAP, right? MAP. So you have taken a maximum probabilistic parameter from the posterior distribution. But in general, that if you don't want to do the point estimation, it means you don't want to find out a point estimation and you want to predict. Now, what is happening if you take a most probabilistic line, this is this line, and somebody, let's say this is this line, somebody gives you this X and asks you what is the Y. So as per this line, this is the Y, right? This is the Y. So it is a point estimation. It means you have taken a one point with the highest probability in a posterior distribution. Using that point, you have drawn a function. And after that function, you give it to X. And for that X, you take a Y. So this is a prediction. Is this clear to you guys? What is the prediction here? Y map estimation? Yes or no? Vedant, is it not clear to you?
It is clear, sir.
Right. So please respond in the chat box. It is good for me to see. Everybody should respond who understood this, right? So now this is just a point estimation. So I am predicting using a point estimation, and that point estimation is nothing but a map estimation, maximum posterior estimation. What if? So it is a very, I'm just not trying to give an example. What if I need to predict with all this distribution, right? With all this distribution. So how many lines are there in this distribution? Yes. Can anybody unmute and just answer me? Akash, you can go ahead. So how many lines are there in the distribution?
sir, infinite?
Infinite. Very good. There are infinite lines, right? So if there are infinite lines, now I want to use every line to predict. So here it goes. So I am trying to give you an intuition so that you can just generalize that formula. Let's say rather than having a distribution over infinite lines, I have a distribution over 3 lines, right? So there are 3 lines in my posterior distribution. This is line 1, this is line 2, and this is line 3, right? So there are 3 lines. I want to find out what is the probability for this point, right? What is the probability for this point? So what I will do, first I calculate the probability from this line, P1. Then I calculate this probability from second line, P2, right? And then I calculate the probability for the same point from the third line, because there are only 3 possible lines possible, right? So this is P3, right? So the total probability of seeing this point from my posterior distribution, which are nothing but 3 lines, is the sum of P1 plus P2 plus P3, right? And you can do for every point. So there are infinite points from on this t-axis, right? From minus infinity to plus infinity. There are infinite points. So you can calculate the probability for every point on this line, which is nothing but the sum of all 3 probabilities from every line. So you will get what? You will get a distribution here, right? So you will get a distribution, and let's say that distribution is somewhere like this. So this distribution is, this is the highest distribution for this T1. This is the lowest distribution, second highest distribution, and likewise. So you are actually calculating a probability of every point on what t-axis from your posterior distribution. And how you can do it? You can integrate it, right? So you can integrate it, and just to generalize the formula, this is your posterior distribution. Just ignore alpha and beta. So this is your but you know what is alpha beta also. This is your posterior distribution. What you are saying, you pick one W from the posterior one by one and find out what is the probability of seeing that T from that line. Then you pick second W and find out the probability of seeing that same point. Then pick the third W and seeing the probability, and then add all those probabilities, right? Because you are doing it for every T, you will get a distribution, right? You will get a distribution, and for your fortunate, this distribution is again a Gaussian distribution, right? And this predictive distribution is a Gaussian distribution where my mean is M N T transpose phi x, and covariance matrix or this sigma square, which is represented by this expression. Here this M is nothing but it is a mean of a posterior distribution, right? So mean of a posterior distribution. So what you are saying, how to see it, if you draw what is the most probable line, what is the most probable line in your predictive distribution? Can anybody tell me what is the most probable line in my predictive distribution? Anybody?
The line which is lying on the mean of posterior distribution.
Very good. Very good.
Yes.
So here the intuition is that once I have done all my calculations, I found out that this is nothing, my predictive distribution is also Gaussian with some mean, and mean is of what form? It is form of W transpose X. And you know what is W transpose X? It's a line. And what is W here? It is a mean of a posterior, right? It is a mean of a posterior. It means if you want to find out a function in your predictive distribution, that function is nothing but a maximum probable line of a posterior, right? And now this is a covariance matrix around that function, which is given by this. So inherent noise is there, which we had in our data set. Why I'm saying it's a noise now? Because it is a inverse of a precision. So if it is an inverse of a precision, it is nothing but a variance. So if it is a variance, so it inherently the variance of a data set and how close you are predicting in your data set. So it is intuitive meaning, right? So if you have a data set point 1 here and another data set point here, and you are predicting for this X is very far from the points in your data set. So the prediction that you are going to get may not be very confident, because if you are saying that this is the value on this line, but the line is fine, but how much confident you are? So it says that the confidence is very low because the data set I have seen so far is not close to this data set, this predictive point. And if it is not close, I cannot say very confidently what that could value be. But if you are predicting on the same point which you had in your data set, if you are predicting on the same point, then your confidence is almost very, very high, because you are seeing the same point which you had in your data set. So you are having a very good confidence. If you want to plot it and see it, So at that same point which you had in your data set, the confidence is very high, right? So where covariance is less, but the point for which you are predicting is very the confidence is very less, so it means variance is very high, right? So you can say this can be the value, this can be the value, this can be the value, but mean value is this, right? And if you pick random lines from the posterior distribution W, you will find out all those lines will, or all those curves will go very near to the data set point, but in the other region they will scattered like anything, and the uncertainty is high. Because they are scattered like anything, because the uncertainty is high. If you take 2 points, then you say that the confidence is high in this region, that's why variance is less. But because the data set doesn't see anything here, so the variance is very large. If you draw some functions from the posterior distribution, you see that they scattered like anything in this region, and but they squeeze somewhere here in this region because the certainty is high, because of the variance matrix of the predictive distribution. Similar for this. And finally, if you have multiple data points, you find it out that you are predicting every point on the line with higher confidence, right? So this variance is very small everywhere, right? So is this clear? So with that, I would close the lecture.
So the
here.
more points we have, the better line we're gonna get.
Sorry,
So the more points we have, the better.
what is the question?
The number of points is corresponding to better accuracy on the distribution.
Yes. So we will get more certainty about our predictions, that we are going to predict more confidently. And obviously the mean will go near to the every data point in our data set. This red line, right? So mean. This was a true function. This red is a mean of a posterior. And you see that this mean is going very near to the true distribution one. And certainty is high everywhere on the axis from 0 to 1, because you have seen enough data, right? And if you pick functions from the posterior distribution, all functions will go over each other, very close to each other. And because now this is nothing but you say that my posterior distribution is having a very less covariance matrix, right? It's squeezed somewhere in the, and you pick so many lines from that part, the lines are same, right? This is what it is. So with this, I will close the lecture today, and if there are any questions, we'll start tomorrow. But I insist you to see every lecture, right? What I have recorded. Thank you very much.